Okay. And here we are. Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you, Boris. Hi, everybody.
Hi everyone,
everybody.
how are you doing? Is this working? Let's check. Chan.
Everything's in order.
Yeah, I see it. I see it live. Perfect. All right. How is everyone doing?
All good, all good. We just had this very long weekend here in Argentina, so we are back on the trenches.
Yeah. Yeah, for the Holy Week. I think probably out of countries. In the West, had a very long weekend. And I just heard, I don't know if this is 100% true, but apparently next Friday is going to be a holiday as well because of Francisco's Pope's. If I say Francisco, people will believe we're talking about our Francisco. The Pope's death. So
Yeah, I am not sure yet, um, but it's sad news.
yes, okay. I think everyone is joining. I mean, at least more or less the same people that usually join. We have someone saying something in Korean. I have no idea what they're saying. If you want us to read your messages, please write in English. I don't know if Dio and Mauro already put time and effort into learning Korean, but I don't
No,
think
no,
that's
Not
not yet.
yet.
You can try to convince us now, but it's going to be hard.
Okay.
okay. So today we will be doing some like rewind on some of the stuff we have been mentioning over the past weeks. I think Mauro, if there's maybe we can mention something about duration mode and what we already have going on with the verification layer, the proof verification layer, and also maybe cover a little bit the eigen layer. They recently introduced slashing, I think in mainnet. Was it today?
Yes,
Was it
No,
yes, we're
live or
actually
Friday?
upgrading the network to use a new version of the SDK. So
Okay, yeah, maybe we can start there, Mauro, and then we can talk about the other stuff.
yeah, so Ignite was testing slashing for a while. Like has been testing slashing for a while. I think like 4 months, something like that. It was deployed on testnet, and now they release it on mainnet. So that requires us to do a small upgrade to use new versions of libraries, and we will do a release. In that release, there will be also some minor updates to the network. For example, using the latest version of SP1 that is a little bit outdated. Not so much, but a little bit. And yeah, mostly that you will see a small update on the verification layer that should start rolling today. And since it's a decentralized network, it might take some more days to finish.
Yeah, usually for us who don't know, like we have around 50 operators now, maybe a little more, and it takes some time to have everyone upgrade and everything. So we usually give a week or less for people to upgrade. If not, they will be left behind. And for slashing in
Yeah.
particular, we don't have any concrete details of how Align is going to implement this in the near future. The good thing that we have regarding slashing is whatever we're doing with duration mode is going to be useful for slashing, because what you need to
Yeah,
do is prove.
I was going to say probably we need to define how to do it on like with the token model and how or
Yeah,
Ethereum or whatever or the more the crypto economics of slashing. But on the technical side is not a problem. It's kind of, you kind of have to do some work for each of the verifiers supported because it's not very generalized. It's not very easy to generalize, but it's something that we will deploy at some point. As
Yeah.
well, and the rewards that right now they are not fully deployed.
Yes, basically what we need to focus more if we want slashing, it will be more about the economic design. Like the technical part, whatever we're doing and advancing right now is going to be useful in order to implement this. That's not the biggest concern we have.
RJ, I was wondering if you could explain for everyone a little bit why aggregation mode is necessary and important for implementing slashing properly. I think it's a pretty interesting point.
Yeah, maybe I can give the very simple answer, and Mauro, if you want to add, and Diego something else. Basically, what you want to, I mean, if we're talking in very specific and technical terms, you have different ways of slashing something, right? One is something very objective, like let's say, for example, in a network, you are only adding numbers, right? And someone says that 10 plus 10 equals 30. You can actually prove on chain that what they're doing is wrong by running the computation directly on chain. With a line is something similar. A line has a binary outcome. Either this batch of proofs are correct and they were all verified and everything is okay, or the batch has whatever the verification of that batch was done incorrectly. So what you can do is, by actually aggregating all of those proofs, you can prove objectively by running the verification directly on Ethereum that that batch was correct or not. So if someone is misbehaving, you can actually prove on chain that they are wrong. So the process of what you need to do in order to prove that directly on chain is the same as aggregating the proofs with the aggregation mode. The only caveat, like small detail that we need to take into account, is that this works for certain proof systems. There are others that we might not be able to prove directly everything together. So that's the biggest thing to take into account. And of Mauro, if you want to add anything.
No, that's okay. Yeah. So in the latest parts of the aggregation mode, you need to verify like the proofs directly in Ethereum. So the mechanism for objective slashing, this verification is the same. For subjective slashing, of course, you can do it faster. It's just checking that you vote with the majority. But for objective, you need to do this. And yeah, there is a balance maybe of throughput. For most proof systems, is triggering a slash should be fast. Yeah, there are some proving systems that we need to think how to do it. We might need to, for example, Mina proofs might take a longer or need some more convoluted mechanism.
Yeah. The good thing is, we believe that most of the demand that we'll see will come more from Rig 0 and SP1. So for at least many of these proofs, if for some reason you have to partition the network at some point, it's not going to be a very big issue. But yes, when we have more information, we'll share it. I know some operators has been asking about this, and we will answer back shortly. The main thing is we are actually working on technology that will be helpful for slashing. The thing that we need to think more and actually formalize more is the actual economic or crypto economic design, or whatever you want to call it, for making this mechanism useful. And then I don't know, Mauro, if we have any other stuff regarding the aggregation mode.
We are finishing the Rig 0 integration right now. It was closed already last week. Well, we were facing some issues that we solved like 1 hour ago. So So it should be done really soon. On the meanwhile, we are upgrading a couple of things on the fast mode, mostly related to some edge cases and bugs. No, so you won't see any big feature. And yeah, and then we'll probably do a small rework of the code of the fast mode that we need to complete aggregation mode in a cleaner manner. That's it. Probably then we have to see. We want to make some improvements to the SDK. I'm not very sure. For example, that right now you need to use the node. I don't know if we have discussed this, Thursday, but I think we did. Right now, for using a line, you need to have access to
Yes,
an Ethereum node.
a full node. Yeah.
I'm not convinced that that's really clean for the users. I think probably the best idea is to abstract it and provide like some API where you hit one of our services and you have all the data that you need to use a line. So you don't need a Beacon node and an Ethereum node. That should also reduce the cost and make it easier to use. So that's on the roadmap, but we need to prioritize a little bit next week.
Yeah. To be very transparent, I think we have been mentioning this with Mauro. I mean, internally we do it a lot, and I want to be explicit. We know that the developer experience today is not ideal by any means, and we need to still work a lot on it. We received feedback back in the when did we have the hackathon? October, November.
October. Yeah.
Yeah, and we still need to work more on it, and we'll try to make it easier. These things take some time, and we have many products on the pipeline, and right now we're prioritizing finishing the basics for some of this infrastructure, and at the same time fixing the developer experience. It is something that we want to focus more. The issue has not been a super priority in the last couple of weeks, and that will change shortly. Once
Yeah,
we
we did at some point some upgrades like to make it
yeah.
everything easier to use, but they were upgrades like API upgrades. For the rest, we need to actually work on the code and change a little bit the flow. That takes more development time than just changing APIs and making it cleaner.
Yeah. The main thing we will discuss probably in the future is also like all of this offering is good for developer experience, but at the same time, I think we shouldn't abstract things too much. So in the end, for example, if you're running a rollup on top of a line, the DevOps people and whatever, like they have a lot of more customability in order to actually run a service 24 hours. So part of the discussions we usually have internally is the two, right? Like making it super easy, but at the same time, easy for the people who run big infrastructure on top of these things that they might have different needs than a hackathon person.
Yeah, I was already like talking last week with some people who wanted to make rollups or how to handle some edge cases. For example, there is always an issue when Ethereum is facing some fee instability, where you have like fee spikes and fee goes very high and very low. What do the users prefer? Probably we probably end up with a bump mechanism, and let's just give the user. We already have a bump mechanism. I think it's a little bit more complex than needed. So we will simplify it and give it to the user. We discussed it for like an hour, trying to find a better way to do it. But thing is, we inherit that problem from Ethereum. And
Yes,
some discussion over like so over net importance of the actions. So when you're using when you're making a distributed system, and if you see the code of a line, we do this all the time. But every piece of infrastructure you are communicating with can fail, or not answer, or maybe it's lost on the network, or you got a problem with internet connection, or something goes down. Yeah, we were also checking, okay, how would you want to align to react in that scenario. You lost the connection. You send the same proof 2 times. Because you didn't, you thought like the first one we didn't receive it, and then you send it again. And there are a lot of edge cases that, well, you have to handle, at least if you want high reliability service.
Yeah. The good thing probably with aeration mode is many of these things, our distributed systems are going to be easier because it's going to be one centralized service, and that's it. But yeah, anyways, like to make a very short summary, the engineering team is still working on the aeration mode. That the thing that we showed so far was an MVP with SP1. They are already working on the integration with X0. I don't know if Boris, you can share the Holesky Explorer. Everyone can see the aeration mode already working there for SP1 proofs.
Absolutely.
And we're also working on some UX development for UX for developers upgrades. Something that I forgot to mention before the stream that maybe we can talk about briefly. I don't know, Mauro and Diego, if you and Boris, if you read Vitalik's latest blog post about directly replacing DVM for RIX5
Yeah.
VM. I don't know, maybe we can talk about what we think about this. And I think it was formalizing some of the things that the Ethereum community has been discussing for the last couple of months, in my opinion. And what many of the things that Justin Drake has been proposing as well for the Beam chain, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it's probably a step on the right direction. It's going to simplify a little bit the proving, and the VM, the specification from RIX5 is more well known. You have compilers, you have more infra on that. Well, Ethereum is also really big, so it's not like you don't have things in Ethereum, but they are, you have only the Ethereum developers that are not
Yeah.
no more general like compilers, engineers, and people working in other places of the industry.
Yeah,
I,
Boris, you wanted to
I
say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out some things on the Explorer here for anyone who is curious to take a look at the aggregation mode. What I wanted to point out is when you go to explorer.alignlayer.com, there's this little toggle here, so you can go between mainnet and the Holesky testnet, which is what we are looking at right now. So next batch in 7 minutes, you can see the aggregation mode MVP that's been running, as well as the contract addresses. But again, this is just the testnet, Holesky testnet. So, this is all testnet stuff. If you want to see the mainnet data, you can see our operators here. We have almost 4.4 billion USD restaked ETH backing the proof verification layer, and some nice data here. At some point, I think we should do a tutorial, like a walkthrough, but it's here if anyone wants to take a look.
Yeah, we should. Please write them down. I think it's a good idea. We should
Yeah.
do it this week. The ecosystem team should do a quick walkthrough of what happens and everything. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The timing of the batches, just in case, like maybe we should say guaranteed batch. Like if there is enough volume of proofs, it will be resolved as fast as possible. Like so, if you have 10 proofs and you send it all together, like it won't take 10 minutes. They will be instantly on the network. They will get processed and settled.
Yeah. And something I just realized is we haven't discussed, and we can discuss it more in the future, but I think it would be good if we share this with the public. We are going to build many more services around Ethereum, not just the proof verification and the aeration mode. So the Explorer at some point will evolve. I don't know if we will show everything in one single dashboard or what we're going to do, but most likely the Explorer is going to change in the next few months.
So if you
Because
have 5 monitors, you can place one window of each of the pieces of Align.
yeah, you could have your whole setup, and people will think you're trading, but no, you're not trading. You're just looking at align numbers. So these things, if you're rewatching this in the future, most likely this will change a lot. Because you no longer have just the proof verification layer and the aggregation mode. You also have the rollup as a service system, and the wallet as a service and the interoperability protocol. So we'll see. We need to talk and discuss more. I want to be transparent that some of these things will evolve as we build them, and we'll see what makes sense. Maybe the answer is everything is in one place, or we have many different kind of explorers, and yeah, we will learn and we'll share more of these things. And the other thing is, I actually thought about this last night. For the rollup as a service, we will need to see what type of explorer can we add directly for integration, because Etherscan is not open source. So we will need to think about that as well for developer UX.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, coming back to this, these discussions are very unaligned. But coming back to the talk about regarding what Vitalik mentioned, what do you guys think? And this is a question for you and Mauro. I have seen people talk about many people claiming that WASM might be better than RISC-V as integration, not only for the base layer, but also for proving. I saw also Suko from Zcash talking about it. What do you guys think about all of this?
On the discussion of RISC-V versus WASM is usually around like WASM is more complicated. You have more instructions. It's more complicated. It's not terrible. It's not an Intel processor, but it's still more complicated. The advantage is that you can extend instruction set. If you see how the precompiles or accelerators or built-ins, I don't know, so many names, whatever, they are usually implemented in RISC-V through syscalls. So that's a kind of a hacky way. You do a call to the OS, and you are actually running a precompile or some specific accelerator. If you have a WebAssembly, you can use you can extend the memory, sorry, the instructions to have like a native operation, and it's less hacky.
So one question to see if I understood, and maybe to make it more clear. The way that built-ins, well, built-ins is how Star Wars named that, but the way these precompiles work today is what type of trust assumption are you making when you're doing this, right?
Yeah, no, the trust assumptions are kind of the same. It's just that one is more hacky than the other one.
Okay, because you're calling directly operating system, and in the other one you are actually proving the
because you are not actually calling the operating system. You are doing this syscall, but you are not actually doing a syscall. You are just using it as a trigger to say, now I go out of context, and somehow the answer gets back, and then you do it efficiently.
Okay. When you see the code, it looks like a syscall, but it's not actually a syscall.
Yeah, it is. It is a syscall in the sense that it is instruction syscall, but it's not a syscall because you're.
Yeah, now understood. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So if a software engineering student reads that, he believes it looks like when you're writing in C or whatever, directly calling the operating system.
That's right, but there is no syscall. But well, most of the VMs are RISC-V, so it might make more sense to have it there. I haven't read Suko. Maybe Gio can give his opinion, and I can read Suko's opinion and get back.
Yeah, what I saw is that one of the things Vitalik is saying is that using this, we could also replace the hash functions we currently use to, for example, switch to Poseidon. And that way proving should be like way more efficient, because right now we can prove maybe in the order of 10,000 k checks per second, and we can prove like 600,000 Poseidon 2 hashes per second. So that would be a huge gain. And from what he says is that a lot of time is spent in deserializing and accessing like some elements. So he says that, okay, with this we could do things a lot more faster. Of course, there is the issue that, okay, we suppose that we are going to change the EVM for a RISC-V ZK-VM. What are we going to have? Just one VM, two VMs, any VM? Of course, one of the things he says is that he would like to have at least two VMs and allow people to write in either one of them. And then there are like some economic ideas about what this could imply. Maybe this could make that gas costs reflect more the computational burden in proving time. So I don't know, there are like several options that are being discussed. Of course, some people say that, okay, if you want to have like something that is more proving friendly, then you should not put RISC-V. Maybe there are like some other takes. For example, what Maiden is doing is, for example, having a dedicated compiler to compile from Rust, then to Maiden assembly. And then you could have a VM that is perhaps way more efficient. So I don't know, it remains to be seen. But it's good that we are already discussing it.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, Mauro.
No, I'm seeing like the same opinion as you now. Now that you say it already, then it's exactly the same. I wonder, yeah, maybe that you can use a specific instruction architecture to this. Expect to have to spend like a couple of years of research, many millions on building a very, very, very good compiler team inside Ethereum. So that's the trade-off, and then you have to agree on everything. It's hard. And
Yeah, but I think this could simplify and solve like perhaps some of the design choices that they made when creating the EVM, which was before Seagate was a thing. If you come to think, Ethereum is from late 214, and it was barely then that we had Pinocchio. Okay, we didn't even had like Grot 16, so some of these things were kind of unthinkable. So I think it's good that Ethereum is going in this direction and realizing that this is the way we can effectively scale. And I think that everybody is, of course, moving to have a ZK-rollup. Why? Because the cost of adding ZK is not going to be significant. Why? Because on the one hand, proving this now like sufficiently fast. So you can prove like rather large blocks in a reasonable time. We even did like some numbers, and we have like some benchmarks in ckbenchmarks.org. And then you have aligned, so you can aggregate like your proofs with other things. You also have like the proof verification layer. So I think we are in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree. I think attack is moving extremely fast. And something I wanted to mention, I saw, was this over a weekend? I think it was the founder of Lagrange. He was talking about the old and the new CK. In the end, we both agree. But I think the main thing we have been seeing over the last couple of months, and for us it was obvious since the beginning, is everything is getting commoditized. I sound like a broken record, but this is important because this changes not only the companies, but changes the products that we can build. And
Yeah,
CK as an industry will not. I mean, it's an industry in the sense that it's a technology that we're all building, and a lot of people are improving. But there's not. It's like talking about the software industry per se. It doesn't make any sense. The main thing we're going to see now is people using ZK to solve and build particular products. And with Ethereum adopting this kind of stuff, it will make the jump to ZK way faster. Why? Because it's the best solution. And I think, I mean, from our side, what we're saying is, if that's the case, people are going to build more on Ethereum using ZK. We are going to focus on helping people build applications and rollups on top of Ethereum using ZK and other stuff, because we believe that's the best way to do it. That's our advantage and compared to other people. We already chose from zero that ZK is the only way this is going to be built in the future. So taking that into account, we might build a robot service that already exists, but compared to other robot service, we're focused only one thing. Today, ZK rollups, and in the future, we'll add the functionality of base rollup as well. We believe that way you can offer a better product to developers. You don't have any technical debt of offering the thousands of type of rollups that exist. So, yes, the old and the new ZK, I think, is more about the industry where the product was the idea of building technology, and now we're in the stage of people actually using the technology to build various products that they may not even realize they're going to use ZK.
Yeah, and I think it's also good that Ethereum started by being like highly decentralized and
Yeah.
is a kind of the most credibly neutral infrastructure that we have. Because if we had started like the other way around, first like scaling and then trying to make it decentralized, we could not be able to offer these guarantees. And these are going to be like more and more important in a more like fragmented world. So I think that Ethereum has like lots of chances of being successful if we do like all the good changes that we have to do and we focus on building really cool technology. I think this is a good step forward. It's something that we've been saying. In fact, when we saw like the Cairo VM many years ago, we were already saying like, well, maybe it makes sense to have something like the Cairo VM or some easily provable language to be able to build things. That is to say, Solidity has like some nice features for building like smart contracts, but it would be easier if you, for example, didn't have to code directly in Solidity and have to learn a new language that has like many tricks. In fact, we tried like coding some protocols and everything, and you had to be like paying attention to a lot of tiny tricks and doing things like sometimes in a convoluted way just to save gas. So I think this perhaps is good because it might reflect more costs on like the proving burden and not on like I chose that this operation is going to be cheap or expensive. So I think it's going to, at least pricing will be more related to the real computational burden.
Yeah, to actual cycles of the computer.
And we
No, I agree.
also we get the advantage that if people are going to use Starks for the L1, then we have something that gives us a post-quantum secure layer, which is something that is going to be important, not now, but in a couple of years, it may be
No, yeah.
necessary.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things we were talking internally over the weekend with all of the news that is happening over the world is this thing that Dio mentioned, like Ethereum, it has its problems. I think at some point we will share our vision of that. That is, I believe, is more than technical. Is on accepting where should we go and how we should start addressing them. But the main thing is in my opinion, the only two blockchains that actually were built from the beginning with a world like this in mind was Bitcoin and Ethereum. And many of the others, I think, even if they took some really good trade-offs in order to build faster or to go to the market in a different fashion, with the whole world changing, I think long term is going to be a problem for them, because actually what blockchains are doing is allowing people to exchange value or build financial systems by reducing the intermediaries and the trust, or trust minimizing between third parties, right? And if you have a brand associated with a particular country or particular ideals that are related to one side of the world over the other one, I think it's going to be an issue, because in the end, the people who are going to build on top of this are going to be engineers or CTOs or whatever of companies all over the world, and in many cases, governments. And it's going to be hard if you are someone technical in a particular country to make the case, hey, I want to use this particular blockchain that is very American. Like, they literally have ads about the American spirit or whatever, and it is something that they will check. And the only two blockchains, in my opinion, that work exactly like protocols or like in the internet, of course, with certain ideals or values, because both communities have are very opinionated on some stuff, but on very core stuff, not on things on top, is going to be good, because they will go ahead and say, okay, these are protocols to exchange value and build financial systems. I can use them. And one of the problems we'll start seeing more and more is many of these financial assets that many of these countries hold have a custody problem. You're holding an asset from another country, a bond or whatever, in another country. And if you start trusting less the other country, you really have a huge issue, not only of liquidity, but also trust. That is an underlying technology problem. It's not a financial problem in the terms of how the contract is set. It's that the technology you're using for hosting, custodying the assets is so old, and it requires so much trust, that I think in the end this is extremely obvious that they will start using Ethereum and Bitcoin for our cases. So Ethereum is very well positioned for that, but at the same time needs to move faster in order to be prepared for that case, because the world will need it. And I don't think Ethereum is in a place where it's accepting and realizing the world is going to need Ethereum more than ever. Hopefully, many of the things we are building to in Align is going to be helpful for that. Many of the people who are working with and trying to onboard to Align's technology are people trying to, but literally in these cases, they need to build very neutral protocols and products, and they need access to Ethereum. One of them that we recently they did a tweet is called Sobra. They do identity, a protocol for identity for governments to emit certificates for different stuff. We're going to help them. It's another project made by an Argentinian called Diego Fernandez. Hopefully at some point we can invite him to one of these streams and he can explain more. And other people working on more institutional solutions. So we know firsthand this is going to be important. And I haven't seen people from Ethereum making this case. Like, part of the issue is they're not making good cases about why Ethereum is actually good. And there are many very strong points, and they're not related to pump that fund is on Solana versus there's no pump that fund in Ethereum, or the amount of validators. The other very good, strong arguments are related to branding and the amount of time Ethereum has been on the market. Hopefully things change and we can start making very strong cases. Yeah. Anyways, I think we already 40 minutes in stream. I don't know, Boris, if you believe that we should mention anything else?
I think that covers everything. I mean, I think we could talk about the importance of a credibly neutral, decentralized network for things like self-sovereign, verifiable credentials and IDs, and that's definitely something that we should do some streams about. It's something I've been reading into lately. Super interesting stuff, and I think is a good example of why Ethereum is so important. But I think for now that's enough. I will plug Wednesday's stream actually for anyone watching. It's going to be a fun one. I'm going to be hosting Hirsch from Opacity, the founder of Opacity. If you don't know about Opacity, they're using ZK-TLS, which is super cool stuff. Basically, you can create proofs of Web2 data and bring that data on-chain. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. We'll also be joined by Vinny, a researcher at EV3 Ventures, who is an investor in Opacity. And yeah, check it out on Wednesday at 4:30 UK time or 3:30 UTC.
Perfect. Thank you, Boris. And thank you, Mauro and Diego, for your time as well.
Yeah, thanks everybody for watching and being here. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Thank you. Can we change